Going from this to this. Practicing one movement well over 10,000 times spanning the course of nearly 2 years. Why have I done this? What serious obstacles did I run into along the way? And what did I learn along my journey trying to master one of the most devastating kicks? Let's find out, but you gotta focus. So first off, I'll give you the why. I've been seeing a lot of comments like, why you doing this, man? You've been training for some kind of competition or something like that? And my answer is absolutely not. Rather, the reason for this uptick in martial arts style content that you have been seeing over the past several months might sound kind of strange. First of all, it's because of potential increased viewer interest, but more so has to do with the vibe of the training itself. Let me explain. You see, I picked up that bob in like 2018 to make some silly videos with. I've always wanted one, and well, that was that. But it wasn't until the whole 2020 debacle when all the gyms shut down, while simultaneously a lot of my old injuries that I accumulated over the years of this crazy impact falling on my face training with breaking and tricking, well, it just like all caught up to me. So there was a minute there where I was kind of in no man's land, just kind of lost, like, what am I training for? What am I training? What am I learning that's new? And well, I just kind of fell into warming up punching Bob. Sorry, Bob. But yeah, this was only for like, 15 minutes to start, maybe like twice, 3 times a week at most. Not really too serious, just kind of freestyling, looking kind of whack. But anyways, I started kicking Bob as well. And then I started thinking, if I'm wasting my time doing this, well, maybe I should try to make this a little bit more legit. So I started watching some tutorials, examples, etc., trying to implement better form, blah, blah, blah. But now eventually, this is gonna sound silly and you can make fun of me as much as you want. That's what the comment section's for. Well, eventually, I started to feel that I was getting that similar burn that I used to have with breaking and tricking, and that started to become more addicting. But now, just like with breaking and tricking, there would be seasons where I would get obsessed with one certain movement, and I would have no choice but to align the core of my focus in training with achieving that movement. And well, it just happened that became the spinning back kick. Now also at this time, with combat sports becoming more and more popular, I thought this would be a great idea to embark on a learning the spinning back kick challenge. And I remembered this quote from Bruce Lee, or what people say is from Bruce Lee: "I don't fear a man who has practiced 10,000 kicks, but I fear a man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." And well, that just sparked the idea in my head. I'm gonna do 10,000 spinning back kicks and see how they improve over the course of however long this takes. And well, this took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. First of all, learning the technique, which right now I do want to clarify. When I say spinning back kick, I mean anything between the spinning back kick and spinning side kick. I know there's a difference, but what really mattered to me during this whole entire journey was just being able to land the kick fast and be able to land it with power accurately. Now, especially early on, I was only hitting like one of those 3 things. Sometimes, if I was lucky, maybe 2 out of those 3 things. For instance, if I would try to go fast with power, I would almost always miss the heavy bag or miss Bob. And man, that feeling of missing with like trying to go really fast is like the worst. It's like the worst. Anyways, with just sheer brute repetition, I did start to get better. And maybe like 1 out of 5 would hit. And then maybe like 2 out of 5. And then eventually it was like 3, and sometimes even 4 out of 5 when I was feeling fresh. And while still nowhere close to mastering it, it was feeling better, and I was feeling more in sync with landing this kick accurately. However, this was met with an unfortunate challenge: the lower back injury. Now, I don't want to fully blame trying to practice spinning back kicks on the reason I got this lower back injury, but I think it was a huge part. Not only was it so much of this off-kilter torsion force, but I kept trying to advance the amount of volume of my training week per week because I was realizing that getting to 10,000 reps was going to take forever, and I really wanted to make this video for you guys. So essentially, I pushed the limit over the top and ended up with this lower back inflammation storm. And like, it got worse and worse, and I tried to continue to push through with training, but it got to the point where some days I could barely walk. And it even got so bad to the point where I'm like someone who doesn't like to go to the doctors, but I'm like, dude, I need an MRI. Like, I gotta see what's wrong here. It could be something serious. And thankfully, it was nothing too serious, just a few bulging discs and probably a ton of back inflammation, like in the muscles and whatnot. So I was super thankful for that. But the treatment for this is essentially rest, recovery, and don't do anything that irritates the injury, right? So I had to take some time off to heal, which was very frustrating and somewhat discouraging, but eventually, after a couple of weeks, well, I started to get back into the motion of things. And then powering through kick after kick, I eventually got to 10,000 spinning back kicks, which you can see there is a huge improvement since the first kick to the 10,000th kick. But looking at my 10,000th kick, it was far from mastery. In fact, compared to someone who does Taekwondo, it was not even good. And also, for some reason, I just couldn't wrap my head around the coordination for doing that spinning back kick with the jump. So although I had some feeling of accomplishment for completing 10,000 reps, I felt far from done. So without any plan for making a video on this, just for my own satisfaction, I continued to keep practicing spinning back kicks. And well, this brings me into the second year. Now, because it wasn't specifically for a video and I had a lot of other weird challenges that I wanted to embark on and try out, well, this training throughout the second year was a little more sporadic. However, it kind of worked out in my favor, and I think it prevented me from potentially getting re-injured again. You see, if I was just going to continue to practice like I was for that first 10,000 reps over and over and over again, well, I think I might have furthered my imbalance and maybe got injured again, or just ended up walking like crooked or something like that. But blessing in disguise, because I started doing other things that challenge other areas of that full 360 sphere range of motion that I talked about in my weird strength video, well, I think it helped keep me a little bit more balanced. And all in all, I believe this played into actually helping improve my spinning back kick, and also achieving a variation of the spinning back kick that I was just feeling really stuck on, and that's with the jump. When I was getting more back into trampoline training, I started working on that air timing, thinking about the kick more and how to maybe do it from the jump. That plus another technique that I'm gonna share with you guys in hopefully a couple of weeks if I can just get this thing rolling. It's a top secret thing. Yeah, I started utilizing this, probably what's gonna be controversial technique, but something that worked for me extremely well in the past. Like, I just wham, I got it. Within like a couple of sessions, it clicked in my brain, and boom, I was able to do a jumping spinning back kick, and that felt good. But I think a lot of this comes down to not just sheerly practicing rep after rep, being on that mission for the 10,000th, rather just kind of branching off into some other stuff, but then bringing my focus back into the move. And well, it's like it allowed my brain to expand from that sheer channel that I was practicing on, and will be able to do this technique in a different manner, also because this other technique I use. Stay tuned. Now, in between exploring these other challenges, well, I had some downtime that I could use to focus on the martial arts training and the spinning back kick progression. And here I was able to dial in on some more things that I felt like I needed to really work on with the spinning back kick. One of those things that I was severely overlooking, and I suspect a lot of people just trying to practice one move severely overlook, was how to blend it in with other lateral random movements so it wasn't super telegraphed, going from me to my target, i.e. the heavy bag or bob. Well, this took a lot more mind power, very challenging, you know, any unpredictable movement side to side, trying to be able to just blast into a spinning back kick without showing that you're setting it up so much. And really the hardest part for me here was being able to do this while still being fast, landing it accurately and with power. Very frustrating, but you can see a little bit over halfway into the second year, I started to dial this in better. Now, coming up more to late spring, early summer, something I started to utilize more in my training was wearing extra resistance in the form of a weight vest or weighted clothes. Now, with wearing the weight vest, I didn't want to do this all the time because it kind of put my center of balance off to a different spot, essentially, right? Especially when leaning back doing any sort of kick. However, with the weighted clothes, it was more evenly dispersed around my body, and well, I started to really enjoy training this way. It felt like I was getting an extra challenge without really thinking about it. Also, I figured because it was going into summer and I was trying to start to lean out a little bit, that I would be maybe losing some weight, and well, maybe with that some strength, but maybe the weighted clothes would help challenge my body to hopefully keep some of that strength and hopefully not lose, maybe even gain some strength back. And well, one thing I did notice, when I did eventually train here and there without the weighted clothes, I felt like I looked even faster in some of my spinning back kicks, as well as just some other movements I was working on. So yeah, that was super cool and a technique that I'm going to continue to utilize. Shout out to you guys for telling me about the company Amorpho who makes these clothes. And as you probably already know, I have affiliated with them and got an affiliate discount link. If you're interested, I will leave that link in the description. You can get 15% off your order. Anyways, a huge takeaway point that I actually want to make from this video isn't like, oh, look at how good I got from doing this spinning back kick training for 2 years, because honestly, ultimately, I think I'm far from mastering it, but rather I kind of want to give the movement itself a shout out for giving me something to work on in between all of these random challenges that I've been doing over the past several years. You see, I believe if all I had been doing was just these challenge to challenge videos, working on a different one every week, every month, right? Well, I think I would have eventually gotten burned out from essentially just confusion. But in the background, having this like martial arts style training, and a huge highlight being working on these spinning back kicks to try to improve that to a really good point, well, I think it helped build a base that I could ride all these other challenges on. Sorry about that abstract explanation, I hope it makes sense. But what I'm saying is I want to give a shout out to the movement itself. And well, with that being said, how does this spinning back kick look right now? Almost nearly at the 2 years of practicing mark. Probably over 15,000 reps in, let's just say. Well, let's take a look. I still wouldn't say mastered, but I would definitely say improvements since the first couple hundred reps. In fact, I would say there are noticeable improvements in speed, accuracy, and consistency even after the first 10,000 reps. Let me know your thoughts. Stay tuned, more videos coming out. I hope you all have a great day. Peace. I will see you all in the next video.